Hey guys, it's Mountain Walk, and today we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. Bunch of different things going on all the time, always new stuff. Friggin' set after set after set, from War of the Spark, which is real big, to Modern Horizons, which is real big, to of course hit 2020, which is surprisingly big, and then I think later this month we have reveal at, like, I think it was San Diego Comic-Con or something like that. I think it was like on the 17th. First reveal for the fall set. Fingers crossed for Kaldheim and Vikings and all that cool stuff, and more snow. Everyone likes snow, and snow dragons, and also legendary squirrel, and maybe legendary wolves. Bring this full circle back to Pokemon or something too, like Sword and Shield. Let's not get into that, right? And then, of course, Commander 2, also previews for that coming up. Oh my gosh. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy, man. Never stops, apparently. And Wizards is on a roll, I would say, since Ixalan, um, at least since Dominaria. I think Ixalan was a really big turning point because it felt like this gave you a lot of stuff that people wanted. People want dinosaurs, and they're awesome dinosaurs, and new. Everyone wanted pirates and dinosaurs together. This is awesome. That was cool. Also wanted, let's see, all sorts of other cool things like more flip cards, I guess. Those actually, all the flip cards are pretty cool. I like those in Commander, and of course those are all the Azcanta and all those other things are good in other places too. But yeah, so uh, things been going good. But yeah, especially since Dominaria. Like, they got the power level right, they got the nostalgia, they got everything. Just, they've got it on lock. All the sets have been great. Even the millionth time return to Ravnica. But the third block being War of the Spark was really nice because you got to see different things going on. Like, look at Karn. You got all Karn stuff, and you see all that like Mirrodin inspired Karn stuff going on. With Karn's Bastion and Karn Creator Golem or whatever. Great Creator, the Great Creator. Ugin stuff, Narset and all those other dudes. I mean, lots of different stuff going on. So that helps me not be a little fatigued by all the Ravnica stuff over and over again. But needless to say, we got a whole bunch of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about. Well, let's just maybe I'll just go over, like, War of the Spark, really awesome. Uh, Modern Horizons, also really awesome. I mean, I guess that's, yeah. I mean, gosh, it'd take too long to go over those. So let's start with let's just go over the most recent one, which is Core 2020. Okay, so look at this stuff. We got a lot of cool cards. I'm not gonna go over all of them. Probably only go like around 10-ish or so. 10-ish cards I think are really interesting or cool or whatever. So let's start it off left to right. We got Rotting Regisaur. So this guy is awesome. So this guy reminds me of a lot of old black creatures, which were like they had drawbacks and stuff, like Flesh Reaver, Phyrexian Negator, and so on. But they were really, really strong. Creatures have been power creep to heck and back. So anything with the drawback has to be really strong. And boy, does this guy deliver. So first of all, two relevant creature types. Zombie, of course, and there's tons of zombie support, and like there could definitely be a zombie deck that wants this guy. Think about it, you could discard like your all your like, even, well, I guess you probably wouldn't play Bloodghast or whatever, but Gravecrawler, obviously, you get that, and then this guy is a zombie, so you play the Gravecrawler even after you discard it, yada yada yada. So just like on value alone, he's great. Or, of course, any deck that wants to use him as a discard outlet, that's amazing. That's even better. So it's a 3 mana 7/6 with upside. Or even, again, he could just be doing the Grave Titan thing, where in something like Legacy Reanimator, where, God, I don't even know, maybe you want this guy main board if he changes the calculus that much. This guy is an enormous threat, and like combine it with stuff like, you're just like, Rit, this guy, like, Thoughtseize, unmask you or whatever, and just you remove all the cards in your hand already, just spam them, just spam cards, spam them all over the place, and just get them. And of course, he's also good because he's a discard outlet, but he's a big, huge beater that dodges Grave Hate. Maybe not quite as good as Grave Titan, but a billion times easier because you can just hard cast this guy, which is amazing. If you have extra rituals in your hand, you could just discard those. If you don't have any like fatties to discard, if they have like a Rest in Peace or a Ley Line in play, you don't care because you have a 7/6 zombie Tyrannosaurus. This card is awesome. It's definitely going to be seen playing a lot of places, and the Dark Ritual synergy is not to be overlooked. That's pretty sweet. Next card we got Kaikar, Wind's Fury. And this guy wasn't super high on, but the more I've been thinking about this guy or girl or bird or whatever, bird wizard even, I really like this card because it encourages a kind of spell slinger style of red blue white deck, and I'll probably make it like the commander of one of my red blue white commander deck. I only have one, but make it the commander of that because I just want to cast like all these cool old spells and stuff. I want to cast like bribery and treachery and have a deck for that. This is sweet in there, and it'll even let me fuel things like earthquakes and comet storms and things like that, which is really cool because of like you can sack all the spirits for damage, and of course the spirits themselves and Kaikar as well dodge earthquake, magma quake too. That's the one that hits planeswalkers, I believe. Fault line, all that stuff, all the earthquake style effects. So that's cool. So it's a really interesting card. I think it's pretty cool build around. You can make like some sort of tokeny thing with like intangible virtue, which I'll probably just throw in there. Really likes free spells. You want to be like frantic searching. Buyback is really good. Oh boy, capsize is going to be even more fun. Being able to capsize spam and actually get a head on board is pretty cool. Oh, and like Future Sight and Sensei's Top is pretty good with this card. Just it does a nice Monastery Mentor impression. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that guy looks really fun, and of course you get to see play in Standard too. Like if untapping with this guy and be able to control the game, draw a bunch of cards, create a bunch of spirits, and that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. Next up we have the new Chandra, or at least the new Mythic Chandra, not the other two ones. This one is awesome because this is a big. I mean, this thing is just like this is one of the bigger FUs to control. I mean, they just printed that uncounterable duress mind twist thing, the 6-mana one, where it just duresses them a bunch. That's kind of interesting. That's an interesting, like, why are they printing all these like hosers for like control decks? I'm not really sure, but anyways, this can't be countered. Amazing, and its +2 is to give them an emblem that deals 1 damage to them at the beginning of their upkeep. So that's awesome. And you can just stack the emblems up, and it just gives them a clock. And it reminds me a lot of like dot-based classes in RPGs a lot, which is kind of interesting, where you don't really get this kind of like good, consistent like ability, like something like Sulfuric Vortex, or obviously Vortex is more vulnerable to removal, but it's probably a better card overall. But it's a little strong these days. I can't imagine them wanting to print that, but Chandra is even better because once it resolves, they can't get rid of the emblems. There's nothing they can literally do. They have a hard clock. So every time you activate this thing, it's awesome. So that's cool. It has some synergy with elemental style stuff with its -3, and its -X is what's that? Disintegrate, I believe. Disintegrate's the one that exiles them, so that's pretty cool. It's -X, pretty strong. 6 mana, 6 loyalty starting. You can immediately +2 it, and like bam, they're on a clock. So that's sweet. Next up, we have Mu Yanling, Skydancer. Now this card, I don't understand why people weren't really hot on it, because it reminded me so much of Liliana the Last Hope, except it's a little different because I think its abilities are overall better for the most part, because, well, or comparable at least. Its -3 is obviously a little bit better than the minus on the Liliana, because, well, 4/4 blue flyer is a little bit better. So, yeah, so the +2 is pretty much the same as Liliana, stops an attacker, and it's really good because, like, you say you played in a blue-white control deck or whatever, just humor me. I know there's a lot of 3 mana and 4 mana and 5 mana planeswalkers you want to play, including Tefiris and Narsets and Jaces and whoever else, but um, you play it and then they have to commit more to the board if they don't have enough dudes in play. And then of course that just means they walk into your sweepers, which is pretty good, pretty good. And once you get her up safely where you can -3 her to create another flyer, I mean then she's like she snowballs pretty hard because then they have to like try and deal with the flyer, but then you have the -2, and it even makes them lose flying, which is not irrelevant. All your ground-based blockers, tokens, all sorts of random stuff can block their flyers and crap like that. So that's really strong. And of course the ultimate's like pretty much game winning, I guess. I mean, I don't know how you could lose the game after ultimating it, unless you were super super high behind on board. But I think it's a really strong card. It may not be the right time for it now, but I really like the card. I think it's very powerful. Compares very favorably to one of the better planeswalkers ever printed, the Liliana of the Last Hope. So that's very cool. So I'm liking it, and I like the character because she's a cutie Chinese girl. So how could I not like her? All right, so next we have Vivian Arcbow Ranger. This card is sweet. Mostly just because I'm looking at it and I'm like, sweet, we could do more counter shenanigans. And then you get the -3, which is just a one-sided fight. And then, of course, the -5 is a living wish. So that's cool. Well, except, I mean, it's current living wish functionality where you can only get stuff outside the game. Pretty cool cards. I guess it could be good and interesting in standard. I'm mostly looking at it like, oh, this would be cool because doubling season obviously, and like all sorts of 1/1 counter shenanigans and whatever, and its removal and it tutors, 4 mana, 4 loyalty, pretty cool. I think that was kind of interesting. I obviously wouldn't be surprised to have it see play. All right, let's get on to the next card. Zuh. Okay, so we got Agent of Treachery. This guy is pretty cool. And basically comes in play, gains control of target permanent, and it even has a nice little rider. If you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, you draw 3 cards. That's pretty sweet. This guy just want to blink all over the place, blink and bounce and blink and bounce and reanimate and sack and recur and all that good stuff. Super super fun. I like it. Really fun commander card. So great there. Brought back. This card is, I guess, maybe a combo card of some sort, but not 100% sure where it would go. Obviously, a lot of people have been like, oh, fetch lands and wasteland and da 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 da. I'm like, well, yeah, that works too. Should be interesting. Not sure we'll see play, but it's definitely got a lot of potential. Just being 2 white, that's pretty strong. Up next is Elvish Reclaimer, the elf that crop rotates and then gets bigger, and it's even 1/2. So, I mean, that's pretty strong. And then obviously it even searches, it can be a beatdown guy because it gets +2/+2 if there are 3 or more lands in your graveyard. That's pretty strong. It's an elf, so it has synergy with the elf decks, and in elf decks you'd even search up stuff like Pendlehaven or whatever to pump your other guys. Pretty strong. Obviously all the land tutoring is good and stuff, like the Maverick style kind of decks that want to play like Wastelands or other land disruption or get all sorts of sneaky stuff like Gaia's Cradle and yada yada yada, Maze of Ith, Core Haven, sky's the limit. And of course he gets depth cards, and he does, since he is a creature, he is help fuels. He helps fuel Cabal Therapy. So that's pretty good, because at the moment that deck can't really run Cabal Therapy. Most of the cards that they see play in the deck don't really want to sacrifice, like Sylvan Safekeeper or Dark Confidant. So this guy has a ton of potential. I mean, I'm not sure, is this like modern set 2020? Look, I was trying to make a joke, didn't work out, but it's like this core set, it seems like they just dumped the rest of like the modern Horizon cards that they weren't able to print. They're like, well, shoot, we got to put them somewhere. And maybe like a bunch of the commander cards too, because for example, this guy, Golos Tireless Pilgrim, 5 mana 3/5 comes into play, searches life for any land, puts it onto the battlefield, and then white, blue, black, red, green, 2 colorless, exile top 3, and you may play them without paying their mana costs. So that's awesome. I mean, this card is really fun because it's a 5 mana guy for your commander deck, and you don't have to really have like the best mana to play him, so you just play a bunch of basics and whatever available fixing you have, things like that, and artifact ramp, soul rings, and all this other stuff. So it's really nice because if you've never tried to build like a 5-color deck without like duels and fetches and shocks and 5-color lands and stuff, it's really hard, and obviously if you do have those cards, it's obviously going to be really expensive to build this deck if you don't have those cards, I should say. So it's pretty interesting. I like it for just 5-color good stuff. I like casting stuff for free. I like being able to get utility lands. I like having an easy to cast 5-color commander. I like that it gives you built-in flood protection. Awesome. I love it. I love the legendary artifact scout guy. That's so cool. Next up we have Leyline of Combustion. They really hit it out of the park with the ley lines this time. So we got the reprints of Void and Sanctity and Anticipation. All very good cards, and basically, Eternal formats, Commander, Legacy, Modern. Well, Modern's not technically an Eternal format, but and Combustion specifically is awesome because it does, I believe if like they tendrils you, the way that the cards go on the stack, I believe you actually do kill them before they kill you. I think maybe they need some prior damage. I have to look this up again, but. Very, very strong card, and even prevents people from just like murdering all your creatures and stuff, because it deals them damage when they target your permanents. If they try and remove this, still deals them damage. That's pretty cool. Really interesting cards, a lot of really cool ones. The green one is like a sweet card because it produces makes your mana elves produce more mana, and then it's like 8 mana, and then you can put a 1/1 counter on all your guys. That's pretty sweet. So it makes you ramp and gives you an outlet for all that mana. Awesome. And next we have Lotus Field. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone looked at this card and they're like, yep, we could play this in the Amulet Titan. I don't know where else this could see play. Has a lot of potential, of course. A fixed Lotus Veil, I believe, from Weatherlight. Except it's a little bit different, but you don't need untapped lands. It does come into play tapped, but obviously it's really good with the Amulet of Vigor and multiple Amulet of Vigors. I mean, you just produce silly amounts of mana. Totally silly. This card's going to break somewhere, and it has hexproof, so it's not like hard to build around, so they can't just like wasteland it or whatnot. And of course, last but certainly not least, and I'm definitely not covering all the different cards, like for example, Scholar of the Ages. It's like, that's what, 5 mana, 2/4, 3/5 or whatever, or is it 7 mana 3/5? The one that double like regrowth, instants, and sorceries. That card's awesome. Definitely want to blink that guy. But we'll just stick with probably one of the more impactful cards that's going to be reprinted is Goblin Ringleader. So this card might even see some play in Standard. There's a lot of good goblins in Standard. Siege King, War Chief, Chain Whirler, all sorts of cool guys like that. Was it the Instigator guy, the Pseudo Marg War Marshal? I think he's still in. So Ringleader could be kind of interesting in a deck like that. But of course, really what we're looking to play this dude in is Modern. I mean, he's basically the last piece outside of Lackey, Recruiter, or Wasteland Port. Cards that will never ever see print. Or I guess stuff like Pyrokinesis is really important in the Goblins deck, but and Sharpshooter too. But Pashalik Mons kind of does a Sharpshooter impression. Kind of. Sort of. Anyways, Goblin Ringleader, one of the last cards really needed to really make the Goblins deck awesome. There's so many other interesting Goblins to play. I mean, you can't go wrong with this guy. I mean, look at him. Look at it. Look, he's even got sweet art. I don't know if I like the new art or the old art better. I like that goofy-ass old art because, on average, Ringleader will net you 2 cards with about 30 goblins in play. Or, 30 goblins in your deck. If you have 30 goblins in play, he's probably not going to net you anything. But your opponent's going to be hurting. Anyways, and so the old one had two other goblins in the art, with the ringleader being like, "Hey, brah, let's go to the edge of this cliff." This dude looks like he's seen some shit. This dude has seen some shit. I don't even know what he. Dude, this guy is hardcore. He's really hardcore. He's just a goblin. He doesn't have like a job either. I guess he's like just. I guess to be a goblin ringleader, you don't need credentials to be a leader. Anyways, you got two other goblins in the background too. Kind of nice. Anyways, super sweet card, super strong. Everyone's looking forward to playing it, of course. Who isn't? Who isn't? God, there's so many good cards in this set. A lot of really interesting stuff. A lot of really interesting, cool cards with a lot of potential. Good reprints like Grafdigger's Cage and Steel Overseer. Awesome. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's move on. Okay. So we got apparently this was announced a little bit ago at Magic Fest Las Vegas, which after everything's rebranded now, right? Everything's rebranded. Now, instead of GPs, they're called Magic Fests. Why? I don't know. I mean, GP sounds a little more like serious, a little more professional, but this is a little bit more inviting. I mean, your GPs typically are just for, people to come in and screw around and talk to artists, and I guess you can play, but there's so many other things you can do too, side events, all random crap. So apparently these are given out foil and non-foil promos. So this is like, I believe, the lightning bolt that they did for one of these Magic Fests. There's a foil and non-foil promo version. Now that the foils and the cardstock thing issue seems to be solved more or less, maybe having foils won't curl to death or whatever, but the fact that there's non-foils is nice. Sometimes I want foils, sometimes I want non-foils, but probably the most notable thing is that it doesn't have the garbage CGI art on every single one of the commander deck ones. Like, you can get the super expensive masterpiece one, which is pretty cool art, really cool frame, kind of clashes with some other stuff in your deck, artifacts, but it looks cool. Or you can get the originals, which are either white bordered or $1 billion. I mean, I have a beta one, which is kind of nice, but yeah, I can't get beta ones for all my other decks. So hopefully this will be cheap enough, so in the decks that do run Soul Ring, which is I guess most of them, I'll be able to get this guy, and this guy's sweet, and it looks so nice. This is a good looking Soul Ring. It is a really good looking. It's got great flavor text too. You can't lose. This is great. I'm really excited they reprinted this. I was just thinking, well, I've been thinking for a long time just how much I dislike the commander art. Oof, so bad. So this card is sweet. Everything's good. I love it. Okay, so there's basically everything's been crazy. Like I sort of said, starting off, everything's going nuts. You've got really impactful sets, Modern Horizons, War of the Spark first, then Modern Horizons, then the core set, and then you have the new Commander announcement coming up, and then the new fall set stuff, and there are going to be previews for those, and da 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 da. Yeah, everything's kind of crazy. And that's not it. Of course, now they have the London Mulligan too. And it's like, holy shit, can we just stop and breathe for a second? Everything's all over the place. Obviously, the London Mulligan is going to favor combo decks or decks that aren't just like, non-blue decks especially will benefit from this. So, and legacy decks like Cloud Pokes and things like that. Decks that really want to mold a Leyline of the Void, against like some of the super powerful graveyard decks like Dredge and whatnot. I mean, all sorts of things. I mean, gosh, everything's just going nuts. Everything's going nuts, man. I don't even know what to say. There's a lot of different changes going on, a lot of things happening. Modern's kind of crazy with the Hogak thing, and they got a million different cards and a million different things going on. So I mean, who even knows, right? Who even knows what's gonna happen? I mean, I would be surprised if nothing got banned. I would say in I would say that in Modern they'd probably ban Bridge. Bridge is a pretty silly card. I don't think they're going to get rid of like Altar of Dementia or Hogak because those are kind of cool, interesting cards. Bridge is the one that really makes him like go infinite, which is obviously a little problematic since they could do that as early as turn two, I believe. So yeah, that's obviously not a good thing. Um, but but they might hit something like Faithless Looting in addition, obviously because the graveyard decks even before Hogak were pretty strong and performing really well. You know, things like Phoenix deck and of course just regular old Dredge. So now that we have these Bridgevine decks, are we gonna be aiming to hit those decks? And just remember all those Ancient Stirrings decks, stuff like Tron even has stuff like Karn and Delatus. So if you remove these graveyard decks, like, I mean, are we just going to be like, okay, now these Karn decks are gonna run all over the place? I mean, maybe, maybe not. They're obviously not gonna be as like absurd as they are in Legacy, and obviously a far cry from how insane they are in Vintage. Um, so who knows? Now, so I could see them banning Bridge and Faithless Looting and Stirrings just to sort of get the format into a bit of a more manageable place, slow things down a bit. I think that would probably be good. I foresee almost like 100% chance them banning something from Bridgevine, and it's got to be like probably Bridge. I guess they could ban Alter or Hogak, but I think those are cool, fun cards, and they're really interesting. Alter, you can do all sorts of funny sack stuff. I like that kind of thing. That's cool. I like those sacrifice style decks, especially with like Carrion Feeder. Card's so cool. Want to sack like your Gravecrawler to it 100 times, your Bloodghast or whatever. Lots of cool stuff with those. Whereas Bridge from Below, if it shows up in a deck, it almost always, well, I guess only really off the top of my head, does degenerate things, right? It's just, I mean, it just produces too much value for literally no mana cost. Um, so it's probably not long for this world. Plus, you can play it in like Legacy Dredge, so whatever. You know, you still got somewhere to play it, and that deck's even relatively affordable. I guess as long as you got your LEDs a while ago, or I guess you could play the manaless version. It's not strictly manaless anymore. Don't want to get off topic too much. Legacy again in super duper flux from just all these crazy sets. So who even knows what the hell's gonna happen? I mean, I don't. They're not gonna ban anything. I don't think there's any issue there. I think the format's really interesting with all these different decks. Karn has breathe life into like anything that even plays an artifact. It seems like pretty silly. There's all those the new Rug Waterfalls decks or whatever that I've seen with someone call them like Frosted Flakes or whatever. You know, and as a like a reference to the old combo decks are always named after cereal because Frosted Flakes because like it snows like the snow they'll play like a snow mana base with like the Coatl guy or whatever. So that's pretty sweet. And you can play like Scred or something. But anyways, whatever the name is, there's like 100, you know, Rhino, Shard of Rhinos. I mean, all sorts of weird names I've seen that all fit. But there's that deck because obviously plays like Ancestral Vision and Crashing Rhinos, which is like I don't even know which one I want more against other decks. Like I'm like, oh boy, I like 2/4/4s. That card's sweet. So that's really cool. Lots of stuff going on there. Obviously, the post decks are even better now with the new Mulligan rule and obviously Karn. Everything's crazy there, but that's awesome. I'm liking those decks. That's cool. And then, of course, in Vintage, I've heard a lot of people uh, not super happy about Karn and Narset. And Karn obviously turns off like half of someone's mana base, uh, and it's asymmetrical, so it's a little silly. And then also Narset, again, there's a lot of targeted or a lot of card draw, you know, things like Ancestral and Brainstorm and Ponder and things like that. Jaces and you Treasure Cruise, all this other stuff. Uh, and it turns all that off, and it's again asymmetrical, and of course it just sits there and does its best double impulse impression. So Narset's really powerful there. Both Karn and Narset are really powerful in Legacy, and obviously the 3-mana Teferi has been showing up because it's like a repulse, super repulse, and it stops your opponent from interacting with you, so lets you play Hearthstone. I mean, there's just everything's all over the place. I could see maybe they'll let us play with Mind Twist now. Maybe they'll unban Mind Twist on Monday. Who knows? Could be unlikely because they don't really do anything. I could see them unbanning Mind Twist and Earthcraft because those cards will basically do nothing. If there's a deck that plays Mind Twist, that's fucking awesome. Mind Twist is a sweet spell. We should really be pushing people to play more expensive spells because there's a ton of pressure on the format to just not play a lot of expensive stuff, you know? Obviously things like Daze and Spell Pierce and Force of Will are a big part of that, and there's the speed of the format in general. So having some sort of outlet for big stuff is cool. So yeah, those are pretty sweet. So maybe Earthcraft, maybe Mind Twist, so we can play Army of Squirrels, or just put Earthcraft and Squirrel Nest in our Enchantress decks. So that would be cool too. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about that. Modern, maybe we'll get Stoneforged. It looks a little silly. I mean, it seems like maybe Stoneforge and Pod, because like Stoneforge seems really like pretty even though, like if they ban stuff. I mean, Stoneforge is just like I mean, it's a good card, and yeah, decks will play it, and yeah, Stoneblade will be a deck, but you don't even have something like Jite, which is like one of the really powerful cards with it. I mean, yeah, Batterskull is very good, but against something like where you're like, oh yeah, this card Batterskull is gonna be lights out. Like, I mean, they're just gonna Searing Blaze your Stoneforge, and you're gonna feel like a retard. At least something like with Jite, you can at least get it into play, before turn 5, right? If you even get your 5th land, right? So, Jite is a lot better versus a lot of decks, and that's probably never coming off. Obviously, there's no Skull Clamp. I can't really see that coming off ever again. Although maybe in Legacy, but again, that's other stuff I'm working on, which I really need to get that out there. Building better Legacy stuff, although so much has changed. Some of this stuff is kind of like outdated, a little over a year old probably now, but that's okay. I'll still put it out and then add an addendum or postscript or whatever. Let's see. Gosh, yeah, what else? I mean, so yeah, oh, right, Birthing Pod, of course. Pod, I could see being unbanned possibly. I mean, it seems like it's so much slower. I mean, yeah, it has inevitability, but it's slow as heck. Like, it doesn't really seem that scary. So, I don't know. And I don't know about Twin. Twin doesn't seem that scary either. Like, the Twin decks, which didn't really seem to do very well versus like the mid-range style decks with a billion removal spells, stuff like Jund or whatever, they seem to fall pretty hard on that kind of stuff. And there's more tools, of course, to hate out the deck. So yeah, I'm not really sure. Not really sure. I think those cards are probably okay to be unbanned. I don't know. Green Sun Zenith seems really strong, but as a combo card, it doesn't seem better than something like Finale of Devastation, which fetches both cards of the Vizier human card combo. So yeah, all sorts of possibilities. Standard looks pretty interesting. Hopefully we get. I mean, if we get like Vikings, I think that'd be sweet. If we get some Viking World this fall, that'd be rad. We'll see. I wonder what kind of commander decks, what kind of theme they'll go with. Maybe we'll have like decks where they have like themes and they actually stick to it. Like if you had, say, a Lands Matter theme, you have Lands Matter cards. But hey, who knows, right? Anyways, I guess that's it. So everything's kind of in upheaval, but it's pretty sweet. Let's just get them to reprint Psychotog. That'll be sweet. Let's get more Psychotog, more Counterspell, and then we'll be good to go. Oh, it's the Pernicious Deed and Vindicate and Memory Lapse and all the other good stuff. Okay, and once they do that, Magic will be great again. But that's it, guys. Thanks for stopping by. I'll try and put some more stuff out soon-ish, and that's it. Yep, have a great day.